6 months. That is how long I spent on that deal. Introductions, proposals, follow-ups, late nights at my kitchen table while my wife slept upstairs. My friend Derek helped. He made some calls. He sent some emails. We were partners, or I thought we were. The final meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. on a Thursday. I arrived at 1:55. The receptionist looked at me strangely. She said they started early. I asked who. She said your colleague and the client. I walked to the conference room. The door was glass. I could see inside. Derek was sitting across from the client. There were papers on the table. Signed papers. My name was not on any of them. I opened the door. Derek looked up. His face went through 3 expressions in 1 second. Surprise. Fear. Then a smile that did not reach his eyes. He said, "Hey man, we did not think you were coming." I had confirmed that morning. Via text. He had replied, "See you there." He knew I was coming. He started without me on purpose. The client looked between us. Confused. Uncomfortable. Already holding the pen. I did not say anything. I just stood in that doorway. 6 months of work. 6 months of trust. And Derek was sitting in the chair I was supposed to sit in with papers I had drafted in front of a client I had introduced him to. He acted surprised to see me. That was the part that told me everything. Not that he took the deal, that he planned to never have to look me in the face while he did it. My name is Connor. I met Derek at a networking event 7 years ago. He was easy to like, remembered names, followed up on things, made you feel like you mattered. We started working together on small projects, then larger ones. He always pulled his weight. I trusted him in the way you trust someone you have bled with on deadlines and late nights and client fires that needed putting out. That kind of trust does not come fast. It builds over years of showing up. And Derek had shown up. Every time, until he did not. The deal was mine. I found a client. I made the first call. I built the relationship over weeks of follow-ups and negotiation. The client trusted me because I had done the work of earning that trust. Derek came in later. He helped with the proposal. He attended some calls toward the end. He was useful. He was present. I gave him a share. Not half, but a fair share. 20%. That was what we agreed on. He thanked me. Shook my hand across a table at a coffee shop. Said we were going to make so much money together. I looked him in the eye, and I believed him. That is the part one keep coming back to. Not that he took the deal. That I believed him when he said we were partners. That I was not looking for the knife because I did not think he carried one. I did not see him as a threat. He was my friend. He was my partner. He was the person I texted when I was stressed about a deadline at 11 o'clock at night. He texted back. Always. He showed up to meetings on time. He laughed at my jokes. He remembered my wife's name. He asked about my kids. That is what friends do. That is what I thought. I had no reason to look at him differently. No reason to check behind me. No reason to wonder if the man who said we are in this together meant something else entirely. The mistake was not trusting him. The mistake was assuming trust meant safety. They are not the same thing. The week before the final meeting, Derek asked if he should attend. I said yes. I said we present together and we close together. He agreed. Seemed excited. We talked through the final proposal on a Wednesday afternoon. He took notes. He asked good questions. He was excited, just not for the reasons I thought, not for the reasons I believed. When I walked into that conference room and saw him already seated across from the client with signed papers in front of him, I understood that the question was not when he decided to cut me out. The question was whether he had ever really been in it with me at all, whether the 7 years of friendship were just the cost of doing business, whether I was not a partner to him, just a resource he was waiting to extract. The morning of the meeting, I texted Derek. Ready for today? He said born ready. I asked if he wanted to grab coffee before. He said he had a call. He would meet me there. I said okay. I did not think anything of it. People have calls. That is normal. That is what I told myself. He had been reliable for 7 years. One coffee skip was not a sign. It was just a schedule conflict. I put my phone down and got in the shower. I reviewed my notes at the kitchen table. The proposal, the numbers, the next steps. I had it all in my head. Every page, every contingency, every objection the client might raise, and every answer I had prepared. I was ready. I drove to the client's office 45 minutes early. That is who I am. Early to everything. It has saved me more times than I can count. I parked the car, walked through the lobby, took the elevator to the 7th floor. The receptionist smiled at me. She knew my name. I had been there 6 times over the past 3 months. Then she said the words that changed everything. They started early. I asked who started early. She said your colleague and Mr. Henderson. They have been in there for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Derek had been in the room with the client for 30 minutes without me. The client was 58. Decisive. Did not like conflict. Wanted the deal done with minimal fuss. I had structured the entire proposal around making it easy for him. Derek had walked into that room, and I had not been invited. I asked if I should wait. The receptionist said they would call you when they were ready. Derek and the client. They had discussed me. They had decided I would wait. I did not wait. I walked down the hallway to the conference room. Glass door. I could see inside. Derek's hands were moving, explaining, persuading, closing. Without me. I stood there for a moment watching him work. He was good. I had always known he was good. I just had not known he was good at this. At making me irrelevant in a room I had built. The client nodded, said something I could not hear. Derek smiled. That smile. The one I had seen 100 times across dinner tables and coffee shops and late-night calls. It looked different from the hallway. It looked like victory. Mine was not in that room. I was still standing outside it. And Derek had put me there. I opened the door. Derek looked up. His face betrayed him. First, surprise. Real surprise. He did not expect me to walk in. He thought I would wait in the lobby like the receptionist told me to. I could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. He had rehearsed this meeting. He had rehearsed what he would say to the client. He had rehearsed how he would explain my absence. What he had not rehearsed was me walking through the door while he was still sitting there. Then fear, just for a second, that flash across his eyes of a man who knows he has been caught. Then the smile he used when he needed to sell something, when he needed someone to believe something that was not true. He said, "Hey man, we did not think you were coming." I said, "I confirmed this morning. You knew I was coming." He laughed, a nervous laugh, the kind that lands wrong in a quiet room. Too loud, too fast. He said time got away from us. Mr. Henderson had a hard stop. We had to start early. Mr. Henderson looked at me, then at Derek. He was 58 years old. He had been in business a long time. He had seen things. He knew when something did not add up. He said, "I was told you were running late." Not asked. Told. Derek had lied to him. Derek had told the client I was late so he could start without me. He had manufactured my absence. Then he had used it as the reason I was not in the room. That was the part that hit me hardest. Not that he took the deal, that he planned how he would explain it, that he had a story ready for the client about why his partner was not there. The story was a lie, but it was a good lie. It worked. I sat down, did not yell, did not slam the door, did not give Derek the scene he was bracing for. I opened my notebook. So let me catch up. Where are we? Derek showed me the papers. Signed. He had closed the deal. My deal. The deal I brought to the table. The deal I'd spent 6 months building from nothing. He had signed the papers without my name anywhere. Not on the commission structure. Not on the referral. Not even in the small print at the bottom of the last page. I asked to see the commission structure. Derek said we can talk about that later. Mr. Henderson looked uncomfortable. He knew something was wrong. He did not want to be involved. He had gotten what he wanted. The deal was done. The fighting over who got paid was not his problem. He picked up his pen and set it down, ready to leave. I was sitting in a room with a client who had signed my work over to a man who had just erased me. And Derek was still smiling. That smile, the one that had made me trust him 7 years ago. I was seeing it differently now, not as warmth, as a tool, and I was the one it had been used on. The meeting lasted another 20 minutes. I sat there, smiled, nodded, answered questions, acted like everything was fine because that is what you do when you are in a room with a client who just signed papers and the man who just betrayed you. Derek talked about we and us like we were still partners, like the past hour had not happened. Like my name was on those papers somewhere in invisible ink. But the papers said something different. The papers had his name only. I had read every page while he was talking. My name was nowhere. Not once. When the meeting ended, Mr. Henderson shook my hand. He said, "Good work on this." Not great work. Not thank you. Good work. He had already moved on. Derek was his partner now. I was just someone who had been in the room. A footnote. A warm body that had helped get the deal to the finish line and was now being politely dismissed. I watched him walk to the elevator. He did not look back. The doors closed. Derek and I were alone in the hallway. I walked out with Derek. He said, "Let me explain." I said, "Explain," in the car. We got in my car. I did not start the engine. I just sat there. He talked. Said it was a misunderstanding. Said the client wanted to move fast. Said he thought I would be fine with it. Said I would get my share. Said all the things people say when they have been caught and are trying to find the right words to make it go away. His voice was higher than usual. Faster. He was nervous. Good. I asked if he planned this. He said no. I asked if he told the client I was late. He was quiet. Then he said he told him I was stuck in traffic. One lie, then another lie to cover the first lie. He had been planning this. Not for months, but for days. Enough time to craft a story. Enough time to rehearse what he would say when I found out. He had been making that choice for days without hesitation. The betrayal was not a mistake. It was not a miscommunication. It was a decision, and he had made it a long time before I walked through that glass door. If Derek could lie to the client so easily, what else had he lied to me about? How many other deals? How many other conversations? How many other times had I trusted him while he was already gone? I asked Derek how much he was getting. He told me. The full commission. The one we had agreed to split. He had taken it all. Not half. Not a reduced share. All of it. I sat there in the driver's seat with my hands on the steering wheel, and I just listened. He said, "I will pay you your share. Just give me time." I asked when. He said, "When the client pays me." I asked what if the client paid him and he decided not to share. He said I would never do that. He had just done that. He had just closed a deal without me. He had just lied to the client about why I was not there. He had just signed papers with only his name. For pieces of paper. I watched him sign every one. And now he was sitting in my passenger seat telling me he would never cut me out. The car was quiet. The engine was off. I could hear him breathing. Fast. Shallow. The breathing of a man who knew exactly what he had done and was trying to figure out whether he could still talk his way out of it. I drove home. Did not say anything else. What was there to say? He knew what he did. I knew what he did. Words would not unsign those papers. Would not bring my name back. Would not rewind the last hour. I pulled into my driveway, and he got out and walked to his car without looking back. Derek texted me that night. "I am sorry. I messed up. I will make it right." I did not respond. Stared at the screen for a minute. Then put the phone down and went to bed. Slept badly. Woke up at 3 in the morning and just lay there in the dark with my eyes open. The ceiling was white. The room was cold. I could not stop running through the meeting in my head. His face when I walked in. The fear. The smile. The lies. I called a lawyer the next morning. She asked if I had a written agreement with Derek. I said no. We were friends. We trusted each other. She asked how long we had worked together. 7 years. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said trust is not a contract. You have no claim to that commission unless you can prove you brought the deal. I had emails, texts, call logs. I had proof that I found the client, that I made the first call, that I built the relationship over months of meetings and follow-ups. I had everything except a signature on a piece of paper. But proof takes time. Court takes money. Lawyers take retainers. Derek knew that. He was counting on it. He had not just taken the deal. He had done it in a way that made fighting for it expensive. The question was not whether I was right. The question was whether I could afford to be right. And Derek had already done that math before I ever walked through that glass door. That was the part that kept me awake at 3 in the morning. Not the money, the planning, the calculation, the 7 years of friendship that had not stopped him, that had never been meant to stop him. Because to Derek, the friendship was not a reason to be loyal. It was just the access that made the betrayal possible. I decided to fight, not in court, Court would take months. Court would take money I did not have. Court would make me sit across from Derek in a room full of strangers and explain why 7 years of friendship meant nothing to him. I did not want to win that way. I wanted to win the way he had lost, through reputation. I called the client the next morning. Mr. Henderson answered on the second ring. I told him what happened, the truth, that I brought the deal, that Derek started the meeting without me on purpose, that he lied about me being late, that he had signed papers with only his name after we had agreed to split everything. I did not raise my voice. I did not call Derek names. I just laid out the facts the way I would have laid them out in a proposal. Mr. Henderson listened. Then he said he did not want to be in the middle of this. I said, you are not in the middle. You are the reason it happened. If you had waited for me, none of this would have happened. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked what I wanted him to do. I said, I want you to know who you are working with. That is all. What you do with that information is up to you. Mr. Henderson called Derek the next day. He told Derek he wanted to renegotiate. He wanted my name on the contract. Derek agreed, not because he wanted to, because he had no choice. The client had the power. Not Derek, not me, the client. The one person in this whole mess who had done nothing wrong except trust the wrong person at the wrong time. I got my share, not the full commission, but my share. Enough to know that standing up was worth it. Enough to know that silence would have cost me more. Derek texted me that night. Can we talk? I said no. He said, I am sorry. I said, I know. You said that already. It did not mean anything then. It means less now. I put my phone down and went back to work. There were other clients, other deals, other people who had not betrayed me. I was not going to let Derek take those too. Derek showed up at my apartment a week later. He was crying, real tears. I had never seen him cry before, not in 7 years. He said he was under financial pressure. He said he made a terrible mistake. He said he was not himself. I listened. I did not interrupt. I let him say all of it. The apologies, the excuses, the story he had been telling himself so he could sleep at night. When he finished, I said, you closed the deal without me. You lied to the client about why I was not there. You signed papers with only your name. That is not a mistake. That is a plan. You made dozens of choices to get to that moment. Each one was a betrayal. He opened his mouth, closed it. There was nothing left to say. He asked if I would ever forgive him. I said, I do not know, but I know I will never work with you again, and I will never call you my friend. His face changed. The crying stopped. That was the moment he understood. Not when I caught him. Not when the client called. Now. He asked what we were now. I said nothing. We are nothing. You made sure of that. He stood there in my doorway for a few seconds. Then he tried to hug me. I stepped back. He saw my face. He understood. Some things cannot be unsaid. Some doors cannot be reopened. He was not my friend. He had not been my friend for a long time. I just did not know it until I saw him sitting at that table without me. Until I saw the papers with only his name. Until I saw that smile. The one that had made me trust him. The one that was still on his face when he walked out of my apartment for the last time. I closed the door, locked it, did not cry, just stood there with my back against the wood. The silence was loud, not the silence of emptiness, the silence of something ending. 7 years, hundreds of conversations, dozens of deals, a friendship I had built like a house brick by brick, and Derek had walked through it with a match. Not by accident, on purpose. I pushed out from the door and walked to my kitchen, made coffee, drank it standing at the counter. The world did not end. I did not collapse. I was just standing in my kitchen on a Tuesday night with one less person in my life. That was not loss. That was subtraction. And subtraction is not always sad. Sometimes it is just accurate. I did not go to the next networking event, or the one after that. I could not stomach the small talk. The handshakes, the people who smiled while calculating what they could take from you. My wife said I was becoming cynical. I said I am becoming accurate. There's a difference. She looked at me for a moment. Then she nodded. She had seen what this did to me. The late nights staring at the ceiling. The way I checked my phone less. The way I stopped talking about work at dinner. She did not push. She just sat with me. That was enough. The money came. My share. It sat in my account. I did not feel good about it. It was not victory money. It was severance money. Payment for a partnership that died before I knew it was sick. I transferred most of it into savings. Did not spend any of it for 3 months. Every time I looked at the number, I saw Derek's face in that conference room. The smile, the fear, the smile again. Money does not clean that kind of memory. It just sits there. I heard through mutual friends that Derek was struggling. His reputation had taken a hit. People heard what he did. The client told someone. That someone told someone else. That is how it works in our industry. One bad story follows you forever. I did not spread it. I did not call anyone to warn them. I just let the truth do what the truth does. But I did not defend him either. When someone asked me about Derek, I said, I do not work with him anymore. That was all. He made his choices. He could live with them. I started working alone after that. No partners. No friends in business. Just me. It was slower. Harder. Lonelier. Some nights I sat in my office at 9 o'clock still making calls because there was no one else to divide the work with. But no one closed a deal without me. No one signed papers with only their name. The loneliness was the price of safety. I was willing to pay it. Most days. Some days I was not sure. Some days I wondered if Derek had stolen more than money. If he had stolen the part of me that believed people meant what they said. The part that saw a handshake and thought friend instead of watch your back. I did not know if that part would ever come back. I did not know if I wanted it to. Trust that cost me 6 months of work and 7 years of friendship. The math was simple. The math was brutal. And Derek had done the math before I ever walked through that glass door. Now I was doing it too, just on the other side. It has been 2 years. I have a new partner now, a woman I met through a client. She is careful. She is clear. She puts everything in writing. Contracts, emails, confirmations. She does not trust easily. Neither do I. We make it work. Our first deal together took 3 weeks to paper because we both kept asking for more documentation. The client thought we were being difficult. We were not being difficult. We were being safe. There's a difference. Derek reached out last month. He said he was sorry again. He said he'd been going to therapy. He said he wanted to buy me coffee. I said no. He asked why. I said because I do not need closure from you. I have my own. I got it the day I saw you sitting at that table without me. That was all the closure I needed. He did not respond. I do not know if he understood. I do not care if he understood. That is the difference between who I was then and who I am now. I used to care if people understood me. Now I care if they're standing at the table with me when the papers are signed. Everything else is noise. I think about that meeting sometimes. The glass door, his face, the 3 expressions, surprise, fear, then the smile. I learned something that day. The smile is the most dangerous one because it means they knew what they were doing and they planned to get away with it. The surprise was real. That is what he did not expect. Walking through the door, the fear was real. That is what he felt when he got caught. But the smile was the truth. That was the face of a man who had already decided that I was collateral damage. Not a partner, not a friend, just a cost of doing business. I do not smile at business partners anymore. I nod. I shake hands. I read the fine print. That is not cynicism. That is experience. Derek gave me that gift. The gift of seeing clearly. I would rather have the commission. But the clarity is not nothing. It is something. I am learning to be grateful for it. Slowly. Some days are easier than others. Today is one of the harder ones. But I'm still standing. That is what matters. I am over it where silence ends. Has a friend ever closed a deal without you and acted surprised to see you when you walked in?